Coming up today on the Nice Guys on Business.
We can talk about romantic versions of relationships, but it happens in friendships. It happens in professional relationships. And someone will recount what is happening in a relationship. And you can hear it coming out of their mouth, how wrong it is, but they don't recognize it and they refuse to recognize it. They gloss over it. They rationalize things. So there's so many times where you know that they know. And so they know that they're not getting what they deserve. They know that they're being disrespected. They know that they're in a toxic situation, and yet they continue to accept it. Those are the moments where if I could actually physically throttle people, I would, but I feel like that's bad for business. So I haven't yet.
1 isn't the loneliest number, not by a long shot. The Nice Guys on Business. Now that's the definition of lonely. The Nice Guys podcast is sort of social. Demented and sad, but social, right? Go from where you are now to where you could be. Get expert tips to grow your business, to be more productive and more efficient, whether you're trying to build influence, grow your community, or make it rain. Best-selling author of Nice Guys Finish First, Doug Sandler, can lead the way. The Nice Guys on Business is produced by TurnKey Podcast Productions. Now, here's your host, Doug Sandler.
Nice Guy community, what do you get when you combine a relationship expert, a master's in psychology, an author, a coach, and a legal expert? Since I'm only 2 of those 3, or actually 2 of those 5, I can't even fucking count. Is that incredible that I can't even count, Rachel? Is that like ridiculous? You'd figure it by now, 1,050 episodes, I would know how to count when it comes to my episode. And by the way, we don't edit any of this stuff out, just so you know. Is that
perfect?
Clear? Okay.
Yeah. None of my degrees have anything to do with math, so I'm with you on that one.
Perfect. So I'm talking to Rachel DeAlto. She's the author of Relatable, How to Connect with Anyone, Anywhere, Even if it scares you. Welcome, Rachel, to the Nice Guys on Business podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, it was very kind of Lou Diamond to recommend you. And, I don't know if you remember this in the introduction process, but basically when Lou Diamond says, this is a great guest, I want you to have this person on my show. It's just, here's the link, get yourself signed up.
It's a beautiful thing. He's such a great person and just good human being. And I so appreciated that.
Oh, well, that's enough about Lou. All right. Lou has gotten enough. I got a big enough ego. I need to feed my ego a little bit. So right out of the gate, I'm going to start with a quiz with you. Are you ready?
I'm so ready. I think.
Okay. Since the show's mine, I get to put our guests on the spot. I promise to be gentle. And here it is. Which of the 5 things that I mentioned in the introduction, so your choices again are relationship expert, master's in psychology, author, coach, and legal expert. Which 2 of those 5 things am I?
Oh my gosh.
That's a hard one. I can give them to you again if you need.
I think I'm going to go legal, but I'm guessing on that one. I would say legal and coach.
Oh, well, you're 50%. So it's still a failing grade, but I'll let you continue on with the show. Do you want to take another guess?
Do I just get to keep guessing until I get to the?
Well, you'll eventually get the other one. So the remaining choices are relationship expert, master's in psychology, and author.
Well, let's go relationship expert.
Wow, that was cool. You've gone 0. You've gone.
I know. I've got a 33.
1 for 3. All right, keep
because I'm thinking
going.
about all the things you talk about. I would classify you as a relationship expert. Well, dang.
You know what? I'm going to give it to you on that one. You made it make sense. You rationalized why I could be a relationship expert. Except the only interesting thing is, out of the 2 divorces and many failed relationships in my life, the only common denominator in all of those things is me. So I don't know about being an expert in it, but I'll tell you, I certainly
got the hours in.
I got my 10,000 hours. I am definitely an expert. All right, quiz number 2. So author and coach were the two.
I feel like author. I skipped over that one.
So Nice Guys Finished Worst was finished worst. Nice Guys Finished First is actually the name of the book, and I'm a podcast strategist. So I'm a coach in the podcasting space. So I'll give you a little leeway because you haven't actually haven't checked out much of the background on me. With totally cool.
Well, you know what? I checked out. I was on the podcast. And so I was listening and then I was reading in there. And I don't know why I didn't get to a bio. Was there a bio on the podcast website? Am I just that bad?
I don't know. You're probably not that bad.
You should just cancel me right now.
No.
No, cancel culture. Get me rid of it.
I don't want to cancel you. Actually, you know what's really cool? I've had some guests like, okay, it's over. I don't even want to continue on with this interview at this point. And I'm like, Are you fucking kidding me? We're just talking here. You know, I got to get my
Wait,
audience
why?
to know you before they listen to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's
now
how-
your audience realizes that she has not been off a plane for more than 24 hours.
No,
She's going by the seat of her pants.
You
this
are
month.
doing fine. You are doing
I don't
fine.
know,
So,
Doug.
all right, quiz question number 2, and then we'll start to
Okay.
get into. I promise, eventually we'll hit actually the rich content here. But question number 2, because my audience has been listening to my show for a long time. Mac or PC? Because I want to rub it in with Strickland. Now, just you don't know Strickland, but he's actually my housekeeper. So, Mac or PC?
For me, do I have a Mac or PC, or do you have a Mac or PC?
If you were to guess, I know you know what you have already, Rachel.
I was like, I thought you were just asking me, what do I have? I'm gonna say PC.
Okay, you're not doing well on this quiz at all.
Okay, but I only said PC because I feel like Mac people, we're so elitist with our computer systems that if we're asking that question, typically it's because someone wants to prove the Mac people wrong.
No,
So
yeah,
I have theories. I just don't know.
You
that they're
really
always...
do. You have some really good
I can
theories.
rationalize anything, Doug.
How much money do you have wrapped up in adapters for your Mac?
There's a lot going on right now.
Okay.
Once they switch to those little
the
micro
USB-C,
oh my gosh,
those.
They're awful. Nothing fits in here anymore. So I just have wires everywhere. My house is going to catch on fire.
I understand. And I got a lot of money wrapped up in adapters as well. So I completely relate. So see, Strickland, we have another Mac lover in the world. And I love that. All right. Last question. Our last question before we wrap up.
I'm terrified. Now I'm sweating over here. I'm glad there's no video.
All right. If this is not, you can't get an answer wrong on this one, but you definitely will be given the stink eye if you answer something in my world incorrectly. All right. Pinot Noir, Cabernet, or Chardonnay. You can only pick one, and you can only have that for the rest of your life. Which one do you pick?
Cab all day.
All day, cab all day.
Cab.
All right. So I used to be a cab guy. I went to Pinot Noir, and I've just recently gotten back into the land of whites because we went to Greece, and they have so many freaking amazing white wines there. We came home and we started drinking Pinot Grigio and Chardonnay, and I'm digging them. You know, if they're really cold.
Yeah, I try. I can't. I'm red all day.
What's any particular label that you like?
I'm going to sound horrible right now. So, there's a lot of ones that I love. I love Valpolicellos.
All right.
We were in Italy, and that was honestly my favorite red of all time, but they're kind of hard to get super fresh. I don't know, for some reason, the ones I bought here in New Jersey, they have not translated well.
Nothing like stale wines. I do not like stale wines. They don't ship well.
It really didn't. And I was like, how is this tasting bad? And people were like, yeah, don't buy that one. But I continue to try. But I honestly love, and this is not an ad, it's called Fit Vine. And it's
probably low sugar because you're like I know you're a CrossFit fiend. Yes. I know.
And it's so lame, but it actually tastes really good. There are other flavors I can't stand, but their cab is so good. I actually just bought a bottle like an hour ago. Wow. Because I may have a problem. And it's yay Thursday.
Not only did what Rachel just left out in Nice Guy Community is that she not only bought the bottle, but she drank the bottle also.
That's why I didn't get any answers right. It's not my fault.
That's great. That is so cool. All right. So let's get into the meat of it because and thank you for humoring me by answing those questions. I know that my community will.
I'm sorry I failed.
No, you really didn't. I just tell everybody they fail. That way I feel a little bit better about myself.
Awesome.
So relationship expert, it's very important for that. Hey, relationship expert and a divorce. Okay. Share a little bit about that. I want to hear about it.
Yeah, I got divorced. Oh my gosh, it's been 10 years.
And it's okay. Just so you know, I've had 2 of those myself.
That's okay.
It's okay.
My fiance had a couple too. So we're all in the same boat. It's all good. But it's honestly, it's my greatest lesson. As much education as I have had, which I think I will have some sort of student loan for the rest of my life, just for fun and write-offs. But I think I learned more from that relationship and that divorce than I did from anything else. So, happily divorced and happily engaged now, and have been in a beautiful relationship for the last 4 years. So
talk about contrast, teaching you life's lessons along the way. And I really do feel like, the first marriage, while I still am friends with my first ex-wife, because I like to visit the money every once in a while, while it's really nice. I think I really just was involved in the relationship so early on in my life. I got married in my mid-20s for the first time. I mean, the marriage almost lasted 20 years, so it did last a long time. but I feel like I went through so much of that relationship unconscious. I don't know if that makes sense at all. That you can
Totally.
go through 20 years of being unconscious. But the second relationship, I was like madly in love, fell in love, and like was this little puppy dog. And I screwed up because I went probably the complete opposite way, not being conscious, but just being like head over heels and just doing anything I needed to do. And that created this huge jealousy streak in me. And, and then this relationship is where I've done all my healing, so I'm involved in a relationship, have been for the last few years, bought a house with JJ, who is also a podcaster and a strategist also. And she's really a life coach. And when I was her client before I was
Amazing.
her boyfriend. And what's so cool about it is all of the growth that has happened really in these last 3 years. And so maybe we could let's start really there. How much growth does someone need to go through in order to be, number one, a relationship expert, but then be able to provide advice that people could actually, be relatable to and understand?
Yeah, I'm not sure that there's a solid answer to that, but I think you have to be far enough out of it and have enough education and knowledge discerned from it and healing from it before you can start to give advice about it. And so I was very conscious of how I was giving advice, what I was giving advice about, and really diving into those deeper elements of relationships and kind of the broader elements of relationships in the last 5 years. So gave myself that 5-year window of processing it and developing more education before I started actually getting into the meat of real relationships from a foundational standpoint. So I don't know that there's a qualifier there, but I do see, one of my biggest pet peeves is I see people, they have one experience and 2 days later they're teaching people about it. And it's so frustrating because I never believe in a sample size of one, and I don't believe in a research study of a minute. So you have to be able to take the time and let it, that information disseminate. So I think that's my answer.
I know you went through a lot of iterations of Rachel before you landed on the one that you've been in for about the past decade, if my research does this right. But it seems like you went from attorney to startup to relationship expert. Did I get the order right, or did I kind of mess up those first two in the order?
No, you did. Before attorney, there was advertising executive, and that was short-lived.
Right.
That was a hot minute. But yeah, and then even within that, when I did the startup's kind of how I got here. And before I turned into relationships, I was doing flirting. I was talking about flirting and dating. And that was really kind of the beginning stages of how I ended up here. And it's kind of that like dark past that you're like, I don't want to talk about that. I'm totally over that. But it's part of my path to where I am today. So I still have to shine a light on it.
So tell me a little bit about, talk to me about the beginning stages of this becoming we all have this, whatever our gift is. Mine is just to be an ass, but yours might be a relationship expert. So share a little bit about just how that became, how you recognize the fact that this was your gift.
I think it started out young, and it definitely started out naturally where I was always that go-to person. And whether it was for friends or family or my parents or anybody around me, I was always that ear. And then even as a lawyer, I was so focused and really good at mediation. So even though I was a trial attorney, I was still really helping people walk away semi-miserable, but in a compromise and having resolved a challenge. And so I started this company. It was a dating company, and they asked me to show up as a flirting expert to promote the company. Nice. And that's where I was like, wait, what? I'm a lawyer running a dating company. I can't be a flirting expert. And that happened kind of as this thing started to grow. And that's what led me to TV and speaking and all of these other elements. And that's when I was like, oh no, this is what feels right. This, spreading a message and allowing those things that were kind of a part of my past become part of my present, my future. So that's the short, long answer. I feel like I've been talking a while, so I'm going to stop.
No, all good. So, a number of people who are entrepreneurs in our community, they go through this period when they're brand new at what they do. And I know you're seasoned at what you do, but in the beginning stages of being an entrepreneur, let's say, a lot of people go through this fraud complex thing. Was that ever you in this relationship expert space?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And that's part of the reason I got the master's in psychology was because I said, obviously going through law school, I value education. I value that foundation. I value being able to say, this is what I am. And I can prove that because I did XYZ. And in this space, it's so declared by the media. That there is no school for relationship experts. There's no one way to do it. And so I found myself criticizing myself and everybody else around me, like, what are we calling ourselves this for? What is that? So I wanted to validate it. And that's kind of my own complex of, I don't know that everybody needs to go out and spend more money and get more education, but that was really something that I grappled with and that was really important for me to substantiate.
So since March of 2020, the entire world has been turned up on its ear and things have changed. Relationships have changed. People have changed. The way we relate to people change. How has your business kind of evolved since that time when the government declared a complete shutdown to the world pretty much?
Everything changed. I mean, I think we've all kind of had the ability to turn inwards and look at our businesses and look at our lives. And, I saw my business changed. I was able to sit down and write a book, which I was never able to do before. I saw relationships change around me there where I was able to, really reprioritize things. And it's interesting because I was doing an interview the other day. I still work as Match's spokesperson, and they were asking me about dating and how that changed. And they do a lot of data, which is why I love working with them. And they found that people really became more focused on bigger issues in their life and focused more on emotional intelligence and kind of these like bigger ideas of what is the meaning of what I'm doing here. And so that I feel like everything just got deeper and more reflective and more aware.
So tell me a little bit about what you, let's call it, when you see this happening in the relationship space, when you see people doing this, you just say, what the fuck? I mean, why are you really real? Are you really doing this? What is this all about?
When people are starting to change the way they show up?
Well, okay. So I don't know whether
I was like, what am I saying? What the fuck to?
So there is symptoms to being sick, and when somebody is involved in a sick relationship, and I'm not saying an abusive relationship, I'm saying a relationship that's not well.
Gotcha.
You see people doing this and you're like, dude, you're doing this. Like, what the fuck are you doing? This is, I mean, obviously you're not going to say that, but internally
Sometimes
that voice says to you, well, okay, so you're a little bit bolder than I probably would be with my clients, but it's like, I'm like, what are you doing? You've got to know that this isn't right. And I see it all the time when it comes to, look, I'm a podcast coach. So I see this in people doing this all the time when it comes to podcasting. I'm probably guilty of doing this to other coaches that would say, you never drop the F-bomb, never put your guest in a corner and ask him a quiz question right out of the gate. I'm like, you know what? Fuck you. I know how to run my podcast. But that doesn't mean that I don't feel like what I'm doing is right. And there's not a reason why I do it, how I present myself differently than every other podcast host that's out there, so that maybe I can get or retain my listenership. In your case, when it comes to sick relationships, not abusive, but sick relationships, there are symptoms that people go through that they just don't even see. What's the stuff that you say, what the fuck to, when it comes to those sick relationships?
Oh my gosh, there's so much. Accepting less than you deserve, putting up with all of the red flags and pretending like they're not there because we pull that ostrich head in the sand kind of situation. People that just won't see things clearly. I think that's kind of the biggest frustration is a lot of times, and this is every relationship. And I talk about this a lot because yes, we can talk about romantic versions of relationships, but it happens in friendships. It happens in professional relationships, and someone will recount what is happening in a relationship. And you can hear it coming out of their mouth, how wrong it is, but they don't recognize it and they refuse to recognize it. They gloss over it. They rationalize things. So I'm a straight shooter and I see things as clearly as I can possibly see. I'm sure there's, rose-colored glasses on certain circumstances, but there's so many times where that they know. And so they know that they're not getting what they deserve. They know that they're being disrespected. They know that they're in a toxic situation, and yet they continue to accept it. Those are the moments where if I could actually physically throttle people, I would, but I feel like that's bad for business. So I haven't yet.
Yeah, it's probably
I save that for my children.
probably not a good thing. I've done a lot of self work, and we've done. My girlfriend and I have gone through relationship counseling. We've worked with Harville Hendricks and Helen Hendricks. We've listened to Gay Hendricks with The Big Leap, and trying to figure out what are the things that hold us back. There are so many different avenues of relationship building. 5 love languages. Is there a theory that you kind of weave through all of the work that you do that is, I'm taking the best of this system, the best of that system. I'm not saying that you're plagiarizing anything, but there's no new ideas. Everything is a reinvention of an idea that somebody else had before. Is there anything that you do that you feel is similar to some of the other work that's done in relationships?
I definitely, I love all of the different systems that are out there. And I kind of looked at things differently through my own lens. And that's where relatability came from, and looking at it from the Relatable system, and why I created that and wrote about it. So I definitely have pieces, not necessarily of the people that you've mentioned, but there's other things out there that kind of had led that moment of saying, that's interesting, but what about? But there's so many other systems. I love John Gottman's work. I'm a big fan of research. I think anything that's super research focused is right up my alley. I talked about Gary Chapman the other day.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, 5 love languages. I was going to say, when you started talking about research, I'm like, you probably like Good to Great by Jim Collins. It's like it's a book about business, and if you read it, you'd probably love it. And I'm like, oh my God, no numbers, please. I don't remember the words. I just remember how the words made me feel. That so for me, like the 5 love languages is like great, because I now know that or you put me into the birds when it comes to like the disc system. I'm a parrot and I'm an eagle, so I know the different birds that are out there in terms of relationships. But gosh, don't get me to do research. But that's okay, because research is.
I'm a nerd.
That's okay. It's essential. Yeah, and I didn't mean to interrupt you. You were talking about Gary Chapman's book, The 5 Love Languages, or you were going to that direction.
Yeah. And so I was talking about kind of, speaking languages, and one of my pillars of relatability is communication. And I talk about in one of my keynotes I was doing just last week, and talking about how we have to communicate the way people need to hear it, and we have to communicate in their language. So I talk about Gary Chapman and his love languages, but I don't steal it. I just talk about it and give him full credit. Okay. Tell him to go buy his book. Not that he needs it at this point. He's like, dude, I got my yacht outside of, Greece, and
totally get it.
We're good.
Totally get it. And again, I wasn't painting you in the corner of, well, what have you plagiarized?
Can't believe
today?
You said I was a plagiarist. Yeah, I'm a lawyer, Doug.
I understand.
I follow the rules.
Look, Rachel did not take anybody's intellectual property. I will use a legal word right there. Okay, so she's doing her own thing. She's created this entire system. Actually, if you want to find more out about Rachel and the book that she wrote, it's called Relatable: How to Connect with Anyone, Anywhere, Even if it Scares You. And I'll put a link in the show notes so you have access to it, Nice Guy Community, but you could also go over to Rachel's website. I'm sure you can get it there. And I know that you can get it directly on Amazon. Any best way for them to connect with it, or just get it?
Just get it. I think Amazon's the easiest at this point. Is that bad that we're giving Bezos all the money?
No, it's okay. Well, not really all, because I think if the book is $25, I think you probably get $1.50.
I get a quarter.
I think you do. Well, that nobody wrote a book to get rich unless you're Stephen King. They only wrote a book to get notoriety and relatability and get hired to do speaking gigs so that you can get actually coaching gigs from that. So we're all on the same page.
Very true.
I want to talk about an important differentiation, or maybe an important understanding, that we're not just talking about relationships as they relate to dating. We're talking about relationships. It could be personal relationships, it could be work relationships, and it could be a romantic relationship. So maybe just share a little bit about some of the common denominators in those 3 types of relationships. And if there's a 4th or a 5th, please feel free to mention it too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's lots of different types of relationships, but those are the basic ones. And it's interesting because I'm a lawyer who turned in this field of dating and relationships was the start. And so I'm still in that kind of mindset of like, no, it's bigger than that. It's more than that. And it's the truth that when you look at relationships or you talk about relationship expert or relationship advice, it all comes from the same foundation. The same foundation of relationship. Obviously, there are different aspects of romantic relationships that aren't in workplace relationships. And if there are those issues, then you have to talk to HR. But there are so much of the same foundational principles, and it's worthiness. It's how we show up. It's, a lot of the challenges are the same too. So one of the things I talk about oftentimes is confidence shaped holes that people have and how difficult that is to translate into showing up in healthy relationships, and healthy workplace relationships are the same. So those issues remain the same. I talk about toxicity and red flags, and those things are in the workplace as well. So when we look at it, everything is relationship. Everything that we do, every connection that we have, whether it's sales, whether it's leadership, whether it is your best friend, these are all relationships that we have to pay attention to. And oftentimes we still have to put in the same amount of effort and consistency and elements to make those all successful.
As we start to reintegrate into the workforce, those that are remote workers now and they go back to an office. Fortunately, I've never been in an office. I've never hoped to go to an office. I've been self-employed for 30 years. I think I'm gainfully unemployable. I don't think anybody would want me at this point, which is totally fine. But as people start to re-enter the workforce, even those that are entrepreneurs that are pulling together their small team, relationships are more key than ever, because we're stepping from a remote environment. In some cases, you've hired these people remotely, you've never met them, and now you're actually working with them in a personal environment. What changes when that happens?
So much changes, and it's so important to have those in-person connections. And that's something I'm not going to cite studies or statistics because you'll stop listening to me. But
my listeners might like it. So go ahead. Okay, I'll go do something else while you're talking.
I'm just we don't have to pull the numbers out, but there's very significant benefits to having those in-person meetings, even if you have a completely remote workforce, to get people together, because it changes. And turns out we're 36% more persuasive in person than we are over email. So I'm done with numbers, but it's just so important to understand where people are coming from, but also that importance of reconnecting in person, but also realizing it's going to feel different. And that's something that I've seen over and over again. I was just at an event for a credit union last week, and half the attendees I was talking to were like, nothing changed. Everything's the same. And the other half is like, oh no, I'm still timid being here. And I'm not, interested in being back in the workforce full time. I want to have a hybrid situation. So it's really just that emotional intelligence muscle. If you weren't working it before, it needs to be like hyperactive at this point to understand that we're in a very different place, and connecting with people, regardless of where they're coming from, is going to be so essential to your ROI.
From a personal perspective, I think that people, and whether it's a romantic relationship, a relationship with somebody that's in your family, those relationships have really been put to the test over the last 18 months or so. I mean, people are they're literally right up against each other in some particular cases if they have a small home and they just can't go. I found that a lot of people, very polarizing. You're either fall in love madly with that person, even more so, or you've discovered that you can't stand this person and you break up with them. Is there any more, okay, I'll ask for it. Are there any more stats when it comes to what has happened in that world, just from a personal relationship perspective, or even romantic relationship?
Well, I'm going to save you because I don't have any recent statistics on that. I know that in the first year, there were increases in divorces, and that was worldwide. So it wasn't just us Americans who are like, no, we need more space than 3,000 square feet. It was everywhere. But what you said is 100% true. And what I've seen from observation is it lit up whatever was going on in your relationship. And if it was good, it made it feel really good. And if it was negative, it's all you could see and you can't get away from it. So people made some really tough decisions afterwards to decide, is this someone that I want to be stuck in another pandemic with? No doubt. Do I want to get away? So
no doubt. I found it has been, well, again, I've worked from my home remotely for pretty much my entire career. Even when it wasn't through Zoom, it was on the phone. And while I did work, my projects were outside of the house. Most of my work was in the house, where my first ex-wife and I lived together. And that was not the reason for our breakup, because we spent so much time together. So, what's really interesting about it is that I found that my most recent relationship, the one that I have with JJ right now, and have been in it for the last several years, it really thrives in this environment. I really love it. We found that we mastermind together. Careful with that, master. We masterminded together.
I know where we were going there.
Okay. We mastermind together. We work from home. Hey, look, anything can happen. Sometimes we put pants on. Sometimes we don't. It's okay. So we bounce other ideas off of each other that if we were in an office environment, we may not be able to go through. And our business has actually very much thrived over the last 3 years, especially the last year and a half since we've been in the house with the world and the state of the world that it's in. But I can see it could possibly be for other people that may not have that. We do a lot of work. I mean, we are constantly dealing with safe dialogue and couples conversations. And, a lot of the work that we've done in the seminars, we bring home and we test it out on ourselves, even as we are like taking a hike. We're like, hey, let's try the rampage of appreciation here. And we'll literally spend 5 minutes each or 3 minutes each, literally just saying what we appreciate about each other. And it's not in a hokey way. So I love this, but I could see how it could really grate on people's nerves to be in this environment.
100%. And you are lucky enough to have the tools, but so many people were in a position where they didn't have the tools. Honestly, it happened in workplaces too, where they were now forced to, they weren't in front of each other. And that was actually problematic. Mm-hmm. And they didn't have the tools to communicate. So any sort of tools that you had in your toolbox is what's going to help you in those situations. But most people, don't have the same amount of access and the same amount of knowledge that I'm sure you and JJ have gone through. And so it definitely was challenging. And I think anybody who's listening to this and they came out the other side still loving their partner, I'm giving you gold stars all across
Absolutely.
The board, maybe
big
total
time.
5.
Big time. So Rachel's book is called Relatable, How to Connect with Anyone, Anywhere, Even If It Scares You, available on Amazon. We'll make sure we put a link in the show notes for that. Am I missing anything before I get to some more personal shit? Because this is the stuff that I really live for anyway. Do I need to promote anything I didn't promote? Did I fulfill all my contractual obligations with your publisher? Anything else I need to do?
No, you're good.
So you live in New Jersey. What part? Northern, central, southern?
Central. I'm so glad that you recognize that there is a central New Jersey. Most people are saying that doesn't exist, but I've lived here pretty much my whole life, and we live in central New Jersey.
All right. What small town? Robbinsville, Princeton? Where are you?
Spring Lake.
I don't know Spring Lake. So Monmouth County, Ocean County?
Monmouth County. Wow. You know counties.
Well, weird. I lived in New Jersey for several years when I got out of college. And as soon as I saw or heard, maybe you said, I think you said something at the beginning about living in New Jersey. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that you lived in New Jersey. New Jersey is so undervalued when it comes to, everybody thinks it's either the Turnpike or the Parkway. And it's like, there's so much more to it than that. What's your favorite part of New Jersey? Where do you love?
Where I live. Really? I live in, honestly, it's the most beautiful area in the world right now. So we're actually buying a house right now, and we sold. So we just blended our families. We sold both of our houses, and we are renting a place 4 blocks from the beach. Mm-hmm. It is an enormous home. Like it's nothing we could afford. I mean, unless somebody wants to like win the Mega Millions and donate it to me. But we're in this amazing community and looking to buy a little, on the outskirt of it, so we can actually pay our mortgage. But it is absolutely the most magical place on earth. I take my daughter to school by driving 4 blocks to the beach and then up the beach route to her school, which is also 4 blocks from the beach in Belmar. And it's honestly, I wouldn't live anywhere else. Well, I love LA too, but
I love Los Angeles, but I'll tell you, I was so happy to leave. We lived in Los Angeles for several years. We just bought a home in a small town called Ojai, which is about 25
Oh my God,
minutes.
I love Ojai.
Okay, so we live in Ojai. It's like this little earthy, crunchy,
magical.
Right, it is totally magical. It's like if trolls and fairies and Goldilocks lived, then they actually would live right here in this small town of about 9,000 people that so many people know of that I never realized how cool a town this really was.
It is absolutely one of the coolest places on earth. Do you know Zena, who does the tea shop?
I don't know
He's in
Zena, but
Ojai.
I will
Okay.
have to. But it's funny you say that. It's like, well, you'll name a person. Nobody will know that person. You absolutely do know everybody in the town, from Revel, the kombucha place that's right down the street, to Rainbow Bridge, which is the small little grocery store that's in town. So many cool places to. Oh, I love that you know Ojai.
Oh my God. It's so magical. I love to stop there as much as I can when I'm in LA and just take that drive. Totally worth it.
We lived in El Segundo, which very similar probably to where you are. We were only a few blocks from the beach. I could walk to the beach from where I was. But to buy a home in El Segundo, it's like buying a home in LA. I mean, literally a less than 1,000 square foot bungalow was over $1 million.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not, even if I could, I'm not spending that money on that.
No.
For a tear down. I'm like, I'm not doing that. So we moved a little bit further north, and I am loving this town. Really enjoy
I love that.
Here. Nice.
Love
Okay. Let's see. So tell me about your husband, your kid. You have 2 kids, 1 kid.
We have 4 between the 2 of us.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Yeah, you said that blended family.
Yeah. We got all the kids everywhere. Although one is in college, so I have the bookends. My son is 21, and then my daughter's 11, and then my fiance has a 15 and a 17-year-old.
Wow, and none together though.
God, no, and never will.
Never will. Okay,
I'm too old for that shit.
I got it. Well, Rachel, thank you so much for sharing not only your family scenario, but your living, where what you're doing, and your professional career. Thanks for sharing your expertise here on the Nice Guys today.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, Nice Guy community, never underestimate the power of nice or the power of a great relationship. Special thanks to our guest today. All information, including access to her book, will be right there in the show notes. Steve O'Brien, go ahead and take us out of here.
For the Nice Guys on Business, I'm Steve O'Brien. Fill up your week with the Nice Guys. Side effects may include tingling, numbness, urinary incontinence, the need to watch the Kardashians. If you have an erection for more than 3 hours, call your friends to brag. The Nice Guys on Business is not for everyone. Consult your physician before usage.